Studios. The cinematic duo. Now, here are your hosts, Paula Perez and Trevor Kriminek.
All right, here we go. Okay, so the MCU. Oh boy. So yeah, the MCU is apparently, they don't know what they're doing.
Have they ever? I think after the whole Endgame movie finished, they just don't know what direction to go to. I'll be honest with you. It's been shit since then. Couple hits, couple knots. Mainly knots.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I think especially they like changed their whole direction once Phase 4 started coming around. Because I remember Phase 4 starting out really solid and really good. Then like halfway through it was kind of like, what are you guys doing? And then 5 is out. It's like, what are you guys doing? But
we don't know what they're doing.
Well, I was reading that apparently they are trying to get, they said they were trying to get Robert Downey Jr., Scarlett Johansson, and Chris Evans back.
They do know that even bringing back those actors is not going to make their movies good, right? I don't know what they're thinking. I mean, it'd be fun to see them back in a movie as Iron Man, Captain America, and stuff like that. But what's the premise of the movie? You just because you have good actors doesn't mean it's a good movie, you know?
Yeah.
So,
well, there's that, because they kind of reached a point where they're like, well, we don't know what we're doing, so the only way to kind of redeem this is to bring stuff that everybody remembers back instead of changing direction and moving forward from that. They're just like, hey, let's just redo what worked before.
I mean,
and
it's not a bad idea. It's just you have to execute it in order to be a good idea.
Yeah.
Nobody can do that right now. I mean, after Quantumania, I mean, I just don't know if their storytelling is on point right now. It feels like it's all over the place, trying to connect it to each other a little too hard, you know? I don't know how they're going to do it, if they are going to, you know, bring back some classics.
Yeah.
I don't know how.
Yeah. So there's that, but then I don't think they confirmed it nor disclosed it, but they're trying to get Pedro Pascal to be Mr. Fantastic in Fantastic Four.
Did you just say Peter?
No, Pedro.
Oh, sorry, I heard Peter, but yeah, that's what I heard too. I don't remember what character it was, but I did see it rummaging around Twitter, or formerly known as X. Oh no,
whatever.
Other way around.
No,
formerly
it's
known as Twitter, now known as X.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a great idea. I mean, it'd be great if they restarted the X-Men series. I think
they're trying to.
I mean, I like X-Men. It's a really great one. I know people didn't like some of the older movies or the series.
I feel like it's an interesting series that definitely, it feels like a roller coaster. Like some they go up, some they go down. You know, like I think out of that series, the best ones to me were X-Men 2. Days of Future Past was really good. And I know not a lot of people liked the way it ended, but I personally did. Because did you see that one?
Yes, I did. I've seen the majority of them, including some of the newer ones. The ones I haven't seen are X-Men: The Last Stand, and
you can skip that one.
And Apocalypse. Those are the two I haven't seen yet. I think
Last Stand, it's very divided. Like I know some people, they say like, oh, we really like it. I'm like, really? Like I kind of hated it.
I don't
And
know. I
then,
watched X-Men Days of Future Past, the one with what's her Jennifer Lawrence, and I don't know. I feel like I just didn't like the casting for this specific X-Men.
well,
That's just
well, something that I liked about that one was they were able to blend both the kind of prequel series they were starting, and then with the old series they were able to blend that super well. But then the end of that, um, where yeah, he goes back and everything is fine. Like, oh wow, it's great because you haven't seen three. Because three, like half the people died. Um, the just locations got destroyed, and so when that happened, they basically said, "Oh yeah, 1 through 3 didn't happen." I was like, "I'm fine with it," because I personally didn't like what
honestly,
they did with three.
I need to watch 3 now.
Eh,
Really do.
yeah,
I mean, as a whole, I feel like X-Men is a fun series to watch, regardless of how shitty the movie is.
it's an interesting series. I think they've definitely dipped in the last couple of movies. Like, um, I think after, I think after, I think Logan, because they did Apocalypse and then Dark Phoenix. It definitely started like, okay, what are you guys even doing? And then I think I read somewhere that said that not even the actors were going like, no, we just want to finish this thing up. So it kind of became Star Wars.
Oh God.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you look at it, like a lot of the actors involved with 7, 8, 9, by the time ninth came around, they're just like, we're just finishing this up.
Yeah, it kind of seems that way. I mean, even the newer movie, the New Mutants one, was
It
I don't know how to say.
well, I liked the idea, and I think it definitely was an interesting idea to make it more of like a horror movie. But then they lost track of that, and what was another interesting thing about it is that it was done by what was it, director of The Fault in Our Stars.
Oh, Josh Bone. I think
Yes,
it's his name. Yeah, there you go, Josh Bone.
yes, because he wanted it to be a like a horror movie, because apparently he read the comics and he was like, I think this would be like a cool idea. And I think it was definitely from like the first trailer they released. It was like, oh, this looks kind of cool, and I was like, okay, this looks cool. I liked the casting they had, um, and it'll be interesting to see what they're gonna do. To then it kept getting delayed, and then delayed again, and then the rating came out. They're like, oh, it's PG-13. I'm like, oh,
I don't know. I feel like they were gonna make a horror thriller, gory movie, which it kind of was. I don't think it was gory at all,
no,
but it really wasn't. But I feel like if you're gonna make a horror sci-fi movie, it has to be more than just PG-13, but not rated R either.
well,
Like in between, like mature. I don't know if that
yeah,
makes more
like
sense,
like a hard PG-13.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Make it a true PG-13 type
Like I look at
movie.
movies like Terminator 2, like today, that's pretty much like hard PG-13.
Yeah. And I feel like that's not hard to make now,
Oh no.
unless it is. Yeah, no, it's not. I feel like it shouldn't be. I mean, they did a really good job on the first half of the movie, and I feel like a lot of the monsters were pretty freaking cool.
Mm-hmm. And then yeah, it was when it hit the third act, it just shattered. It's like, okay, what are you guys doing again? And why does it matter? And
I
yeah,
mean,
that
the
fumbled.
concept was great, though. I really liked the comic. I've read the comic before,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought the casting was pretty good, too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I feel like kind of missed towards the end. Started off pretty strong, kind of dwindled down a little bit towards the end too.
Yep.
So
Yeah. So yeah, I think X-Men is an interesting series, and it's definitely one that's kind of like, all right, some movies are better than others, but it's still an interesting series to watch. And yeah, I I think the only one I haven't seen was Dark Phoenix. I don't think I've seen that.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh, the 2019 one with
yeah,
Sophie Turner.
yep.
It's not a bad movie. I'll be honest with you, it's not that bad.
Not according to the internet.
Uh, I know. That's why I'm saying it's not that bad. I just don't think I like Sophie Turner's star as Dark Phoenix. The Phoenix lady.
Yeah, Jean Grey.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. I blinked out really hard, but I don't know if I liked her as Jean Grey. I really don't know if I do. Other than that, it's the same cast as the other movies.
Oh, yeah.
We have, Jace McAvoy as Charles Xavier, which I really liked him as Charles Xavier. I really like seeing him bald. I don't know why. I thought he fit the character very well.
You know what? He said that he actually liked being bald.
I think it suits his facial structure. I don't know.
Well, it's not just that movie, but also you go back to Split.
Oh, that's right. Which honestly, I really like that movie. I don't know about you.
Oh, I really liked it.
I think he really played every character to its maximum, if that makes any sense.
Oh, yeah.
I really do. That movie, I feel like, is what introduced me to this actor too. I know he's done other movies other than that. I know he was in...
I remember him from Narnia.
I remember him from the rom-com Penelope. It's like a really old romance movie. And that's the only other movie that I know him in, other than Deadpool and It, I think.
Yeah. Not Deadpool, but he was in Chapter 2 of It.
There you
go. But no, it was Chronicles of Narnia. That's what I remember seeing him in.
Narnia? I didn't know that.
Yes. Go back and watch oh my God, the first one.
Was it a centaur?
Yeah. Yeah. And
God.
And what's funny is I kind of forgot about that. Like, I think it was actually when he hosted SNL, like some years ago, they did a skit about it where he was playing his character. And I was like, oh, that's right. He was in that movie.
Wow. He's just like, I think he didn't start getting recognition until some of the more recent movies.
Yeah, like he had a baby face back then.
He was Mr. Tumnus.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Well, yeah, so I think, but what's I really like about Split is that it was M. Night Shyamalan. And at that point, he was kind of trying to make a resurgence because he did two pretty much terrible movies back to back. And that was The Happening, and then they butchered Avatar.
Oh, that's right.
So he made those like back to back. So then I think Hollywood was just like, dude, like just stop. So then, he did. I think it was Split, and then he did this one called The Visit.
Never heard of that movie.
It's a found footage one where it's these two kids that are going to stay with their grandparents for a little bit, like just visiting. But then they soon discover that things aren't what they seem with their grandparents.
Oh, that's right. I remember watching that trailer. It was really creepy. I don't remember the premise of the movie though, but I do remember it. It was just two kids in the middle of the woods with their grandparents in the cabin or some shit like that. Yeah,
that one was pretty good. It definitely, I don't think it kicked in until the third act, and usually it's his twists where I'm just like, okay, that's either really clever or that's really stupid. And sometimes his twists are like, okay, the movies are pretty good, but that just ruined it. Like, I always go back to The Village, and then especially Signs, where it was kind of like, okay, these are pretty good, and then the twist happens, like, well, that was stupid.
Yeah, they just don't really execute that well. Well,
and then for the visit, it was kind of like oh well, that sucks. um and so then now, yeah, then he's doing what, like he did like Old a couple years ago, and then was it this year or last year he did Knock at the Cabin.
I think it was last year. I'm not wrong. Yeah.
Great. And I think he's currently filming his next one. So he kind of got a resurgence thanks to that. So he put on the brakes. So I'm very, very glad about that. Yeah, it's just I have a feeling like he's gonna go back down that path of like, yeah, it's interesting, but execution's like, really? Like, okay.
Yeah, I agree on that one.
Mm-hmm. So
I mean, he's a great actor, though. He just needs a really good movie.
mm-hmm. So, yeah. But yeah, the I like how we went on this like spiral where we started out with the MCU. Now we're talking about M. Night Shyamalan.
Oh boy.
Whatever. But
whatever.
But then I know a lot of people were saying, especially now Phase 5, just going like, wow, this is just really stupid. Like, what are you guys doing? Like I haven't as of this conversation, the last or the next thing I need to watch is, I think, Thor: Love and Thunder. And
it's up. It's just a fucking weird movie. It's not even that good.
Well, that just sounds like Taika Waititi.
I mean, basically,
just weird.
It is weird. It was just Thor.
Love
and Thunder. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Well, now they're in talks to do a 5th one, but
why?
Waititi saying like, yeah, I'm not jumping back. I didn't see She-Hulk, but I was seeing a lot of things that people were talking about, and some of them just going, well, that's kind of dumb. Like, all right, whatever. But have you heard stuff about the Marvels?
You know what? No, I have not.
Ooh.
At all.
Oh boy. Well, I watched this review for it, and they said like halfway through it just drops being a superhero movie and becomes a Disney princess musical film.
No, you're kidding.
They said it, and then they said like there's a part where Danvers is like wearing like almost it's actually like a Captain Marvel like variant dress or something. And I'm like, no, that can't be real. And they actually showed like a still of it. I'm like, wow, that's really dumb. So it kind of feels like Disney is like pushing their way through it and like not letting them
Disney can't
be
even
their
make
thing.
a very good, decent live action movie. They think they can touch Marvel now? I don't know.
So
I know they own the rights to almost everything, but still, we don't need a fucking musical for Marvel.
Yeah, we got that in Hawkeye.
Exactly. I don't know why we got one in Hawkeye, but we got one.
You know what? I'm just glad that in Hawkeye they used a Depeche Mode song. That's all I was happy about.
It was very good. I like that. No. But Hawkeye is a whole nother thing. It was like one episode, not the entire thing, you know?
Yeah, I didn't like that. Well, at the end of the day, you know, Hawkeye was interesting because they were trying to like blend like Kingpin. That was from the Daredevil show they did for Netflix. Mm-hmm. So it was actually kind of interesting to see like, oh, so they're slowly bringing that stuff in. And then with She-Hulk, they brought Charlie Cox's version of Daredevil.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, so they're kind of trying to weave them in. So, all right, this is interesting. And then now with Echo, which I think they said is January, that's actually Marvel's first like pretty much TV MA show. Um,
Oh, okay.
yeah, in the MCU. So it's just like, well, I personally think they should have gotten darker at this point.
Yeah, I feel like
Um,
you're right. I feel like they should have gotten a little bit darker.
well, and then also, something that I think what we talked about with the FNAF movie was they understood that that the hardcore fans were fans from the very beginning. Now they're older, so it's like, all right, let's make it, you know, uh, make it please them. Marvel, they have to realize that they've been doing the MCU for over a decade now, and so like when I saw, like, I believe I saw Iron Man in theaters, and yeah, I was like 7, something like that.
Dang,
Um, so now it's like you guys really should have gotten, darker at this point. And then there were some cases in the series where they did, like with Infinity War. It was just like, yep.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was kind of like with Infinity War and Endgame. It's like, yeah, all right, time to say goodbye to some of your favorite characters.
And you know what? I wish they did that more often, or at some point put the characters at risk, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's why Infinity War and Endgame came out so on top, because we lost almost everyone. We lost everyone, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I feel like they need to realize that we're not kids anymore. We can handle a death. We know they're going to die. We know they're
Yeah.
already dead in the comics.
Mm-hmm. So,
You know?
yeah, but they're still trying to like market to like almost like a new generation. And it's like, well, they can do that, but you know, these new generations can take it like one step at a time.
Oh, yeah. I feel like they could take it harder than us, even,
Oh yeah.
like it's called new gen,
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I feel like some of their movies or series didn't really hit.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're just trying to make it more generational friendly, like with Miss Marvel.
Miss
Is that
Marvel.
what? Miss Marvel, I feel like it was just a girl that was Muslim that had superpowers.
Well, one thing I will give the MCU credit for is that they are branching out to different cultures.
Oh yeah, I
I'll
agree
give
on
them
that
that.
one. I feel like that was missing a lot in some of the older ones
Oh yeah.
because it was mainly whites,
Mm-hmm.
Americans per
Yeah.
se.
Yeah. Yeah. It wasn't until we got like Black Widow was okay, but you find out that Russian.
Okay.
Shang-Chi, and then with
Yeah.
Miss Marvel. So
Oh,
and then
and Black
especially Black
Panther, don't
Panther.
forget. That's a whole nother
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, so it was kind of like, all right, this is super cool. So it's not like they're in a bubble, but they're actually expanding that bubble.
I like it.
So
I just
I'll
wish
give him credit for
Miss
that.
Marvel was a little bit. Yeah, I'll give him credit for that. Obviously, I like the diversity, especially with what's her name? America Chavez, I think, is the other one
Was
that's supposed
Doctor
to be.
Strange too?
Yes, Doctor Strange.
Mhm.
She was the
See, like
one that he was training. Yeah.
Mhm. Like Doctor Strange 2. That movie was pushing the limits on like what
Absolutely.
they can do. And
Yeah.
that, I think a lot of that went to it was a Sam Raimi that did it, who did the Evil Dead trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, when it was announced that he was going to do it, I was just like, all right, because he also did the Spider-Man trilogy.
Amazing, by the way.
Mm-hmm. Well, 1 and 2 were. That's just me. But
I wholeheartedly disagree, but I'm not going to fight you on it.
Oh no, not the Holland ones. Talk about the Maguire ones.
Exactly.
Okay, great.
I know what I'm talking about, Trevor.
I
I'll
never
fight
said you
to death
weren't.
about them. All of them are good. You have your opinions, I have mine.
Okay. But yeah, once he was announced that he was gonna do it, I was like, all right, let's see what you guys are gonna do. And then yeah, there was parts where I'm like, wow, they let that slide. Great. And then I still remember, like, once it came out, like, so many people were going like, that was way too violent. It's like, shut up. Like, we've reached this point where, we need, audiences have matured enough to handle this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
And
violent. If
and
anything, Marvel needs a little bit more violence in their movie.
well, and then also, if people saying like that movie was so violent, it's like, well, two things. One, yeah, like I mentioned, like, audiences have matured enough, and two, if you look at Sam Raimi's catalog, come on.
What do you expect from the man? He has to make them violent in order for them to,
Well, even like one of his movies is Drag Me to Hell. That movie's PG-13, but yet there's some like gross stuff in it.
Yeah, I know.
Like,
I
it's
have
just
to
like,
edit it. Remember, I
yeah,
had
I
to
know.
edit that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it was just like, ugh, that's pretty gross. But yeah, so I don't understand. As much as I used to like what the MCU was doing up to a certain point, it's the fan bases. And I'm just like, all right, you guys are like really like picky and needy now. And then they're kind of at this point where it's like, okay, what are you guys doing? Like, is there a goal to what you're doing? And then that they, had to keep delaying Blade for years now. Like, somebody actually said that it was supposed to come out this November.
Bro,
Now it's pushed to, I think, 2025.
that's way too long.
Well, and then what was happening was, because it kept getting pushed, Mahershala Ali, he was actually really tempted to drop out because it wasn't going anywhere.
I mean, I would too, but
Mhm.
I mean, I think it's extended to 2025 now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's 2 years from what it should have been this year.
Well, actually, I think it was supposed to come out 22. I not totally sure, but yeah, they said one of the release dates was this November.
Dang. But I mean, I'm looking it up it now. It says that the new release date is November 7th of 2025.
Yep.
So that's crazy to think we could have had it already.
Indeed.
Wow. But on the topic of renewing.
Oh yeah, it was began production in November 2022 with a November 3rd, 2023 release date. So yeah, we should have gotten it by now.
Dang, that's horrible. That's
Yeah.
really bad.
Yeah. But anyway, you were saying on the topic of?
Yeah, on the topic of remakes, any Marvel remakes that you like?
I certainly think Incredible Hulk was better than what they did in 2003. Well, that was just a cartoon.
Yeah, fair enough.
Let's see. I know. I've seen tons of like rumors and sources saying that they're either trying to do a remake or a sequel to Howard the Duck. And I'm like, I don't know how people would react today. He seems kind of like, I mean, the only times when he's popped up in the MCU is in the Guardians movies, where he's a cameo, but that's it. And I'm like, yeah, he's kind of one of those characters where it's like, once we see him, we know who he is, and it's like we only need him for that like snippet, Yeah, I mean, the whole premise of the original movie was you have this alien duck who wants to, have sex with a human woman, and then it happens.
I mean, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, so it's like, wow, you guys are doing this.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, I don't know how people would react nowadays for that, with today's sensitivity. Um, like it's almost like on the level of like what The Boys does, where I'm like, wow, you guys are doing this. I'm like, okay,
I
because
mean, yeah.
they're purposely like putting up the middle finger, saying like, yeah, we don't care, like we're saying these things because they need to be said, and that's what
Mhm.
I love about that show. But yeah, with Marvel doing remakes, I've always been in the camp of if an original movie needs a remake, then they'll do it. Then sure. But if it looks at it and goes like, nope, this is the best it can be, the only way it's going to go is go downhill from here if they remake it, then I'm personally against it. Like, for example,
Yeah.
they're trying to remake the original Christine, and
Why?
exactly. But the main problem is that I looked at a retrospective of the original movie, and they used, I think, about like 20 some odd cars, but the problem was is that they actually couldn't find enough. It was Plymouth Furies, so they got some. I think it was Plymouth uh, Belvedere's because they look
Yeah.
similar.
Yeah. The closest, sister to the
Yeah,
Plymouth. Yeah.
yeah. So, but nowadays, I think they said there's only two cars in existence, and it's like,
That's crazy.
mm-hmm, yeah, and like one is in like mint condition, so it's like don't breathe on it, don't touch it, don't
There's
yeah,
no
don't
way
do
how they
anything.
can get that car for the movie. Like they'd have to
Exactly.
fucking wreck the car.
Yeah, they have to like, yeah. So them trying to remake that, it's just like nope.
I
Um,
feel like modern. Oh my god, making the movie more modern would be a lot more realistic.
yeah,
Like getting to
but
Christine, but a modern version of Christine, but not too modern.
hmm but yeah, the problem is that because it's based on a book, they they know that it's Stephen King. They know that he's
Oh,
going to be pretty much like breathing down their necks about it.
I mean, when is he not? He does that with every movie to make sure that they get the point of the book.
Yeah. Um, they actually they confirmed this. They are doing a reboot, I think it is, of the People Under the Stairs. And Jordan Peele is going to be uh, producing it.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, if you have you seen that one,
No, I've never seen The People Under the Stairs, but I've heard
it's
of
pretty
Jordan Peele.
good. It's pretty good. It's about this kid who they explain in the story, but he gets stuck in a house. Well, I should actually be more descriptive. A black kid goes into a house that is owned by these two um, I think it was I forget if there was a couple or brother and sister, but they are white. And I'm saying this because it actually is part of the story. Like they actually weave that into the story. And you find out that in the basement, they are keeping like all these people like hostage. And so
Oh my
so the
god.
kid has to find a way to one, get out of the house, and two, try to save all these people while these two crazy um, siblings are trying to find him.
That's, first of all, creepy.
Well, and then another thing about it is that it is done by Wes Craven, who did like Nightmare on Elm Street, Scream. It was one of his movies that was just kind of like in between when he really wasn't doing anything like
Mhm.
anything like that was going to turn into a series. But yeah, that's actually a pretty good movie. I'd recommend watching that, and it's actually it's scary at times because it feels very claustrophobic. Because it's pretty much the whole premise takes place in that house, but at the same time, it's also kind of funny. So it
I,
very much is trying to be like a black comedy.
only you would think this would be comedy. I mean, I'd have to watch it first.
Oh
I
my
feel like
God.
maybe that's something we got to watch together, but I don't know. I'm looking at some pictures and stuff, and it's not as scary as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, no.
It just looks like really, I don't know how to say it, like a 90s horror movie.
Well, it was 91, so
It
yeah.
is a 90s horror movie.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, okay. 2 adults and a juvenile break into a house accompanied by a brother and sister and their stolen children. There, they must fight for their lives. That's pretty much the crux of it.
wow.
But it dives into something else. But yeah, it's a pretty good movie. Like
Okay.
I still dig it.
Fair enough.
So, classic fairy tale, you're right. But
Okay.
I think when it comes to, remakes, if they I think like Cujo, I think there's parts of that where I'm like, yeah, I can tell like that's clearly not a dog and that's a stunt person in a dog costume. It's like, yeah, that looks kind of bad. Or like, for example, like they did with It. The only thing that they did that was, for like film was the miniseries they did in the 90s. And even
That's right.
that is like, yeah, that's kind of dated. And at the same time, it's not as hardcore as they wanted it to be because it was broadcasted on network. So they can only do so much. So when they did the 2 movies, they were able to get away with a lot more than they could have.
Mm-hmm.
And personally, I think the first movie was really good, and then the second one, I mostly liked.
Mostly?
Yeah, there was parts of it where I was like, that's kind of goofy. That doesn't really fit there. And it also didn't help that the movie was like almost 3 hours long. When
Oh, yeah. Well,
I think at times it was like, no, this doesn't need to be that long.
yeah, I feel like after the 2.5 hour mark, I kind of just tune out. I feel like some movies don't need to be that long, you know?
Yeah, 3. It to me, it always just depends. If they're able to keep interest going and not be slow paced, I think 3-hour movies I can definitely sit through. Like, for example, Wolf of Wall Street. That's 3 hours, but it constantly had something going on.
I feel like it's just a fever dream of a movie. You really can't escape it at any second, you know?
Yeah. John Wick 4. That's 3 hours, but that it had something constantly going on, and
Well,
it
the
knew.
movie doesn't even talk that long either.
Well, and even Keanu said that there were like weeks when all he was doing was fighting, like no talking. And I was
That's
like,
fine.
oh
I
no.
mean, that's the whole point.
Yeah. But yeah, like I think 3-hour movies. It just depends on if they can keep audiences interested, and if they can keep the pace going. Because
Yeah.
because
I'm like, I feel like the one in between would be Oppenheimer. I think
Yeah,
that's a movie that got you towards the end, but lost you in the first half.
yeah, because it was a lot of talking. It was a lot of talking.
It's okay.
And
I missed the first half. I think I missed just sex. I think that's all I did. I missed the sex part.
yeah, that then overseas they then CG'd a dress. It was like, really?
Oh,
Really?
they put a black dress over a naked woman. I mean, seriously?
Yeah, it's like, okay, whatever. But yeah, that movie, because it was all like information, to then eventually when you get to that point, it's like, all right, this pays off. But then again, at the same time,
Yeah.
Christopher Nolan is known for doing long movies. Like, I remember the first time I saw it in Interstellar, I was like, this is just long. And yeah.
That is a classic you're talking about.
Well, at the first time I saw it.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, the first time I saw it, I was like, this is really good, but this is really long. It wasn't like with first time I saw Tenet, where it's like, okay, this is 2.5 hours, but this is really confusing.
I mean, Tenet just in itself was weird.
Yeah,
It's
felt
supposed
like
to be a difficult movie to follow anyways. It was intended to be that way anyways.
yeah. Well, and then it definitely felt like Nolan was trying to do like a Bond movie, which makes sense
Um,
because one of the Bond movies is actually considered as one of his favorite movies.
oh,
I
really?
I forget which one it is. I think it's on Her Majesty's Secret Service. I think. I think it's that one. But yeah, you could definitely tell like, oh, he was definitely trying to do a Bond movie, and it would be kind of cool to see him do one. But yeah, it was like, all right, you're throwing this whole thing with time, which, doing like time travel is really risky because there's tons of moments where you can go like, oh, why didn't you just do this? Why didn't you do this way? You know,
I don't know. I've been seeing that people are trying to compare it to Inception, and apparently
no,
it missed its mark. It's not like Inception at
that
all.
no, that that's
No.
that's the problem I have with a lot of people is that they're trying to compare it to other movies, and it's like, well, unless it like does something like really similar or like exactly what that other movie did, then okay. But if you're going to compare the same director's work, it's like, don't, that doesn't work there.
No, it
it's
really
it's
doesn't.
like it's like trying to it's trying to say like, well, nope, it's not as good as Get Out. It's like, well, one, they're both Jordan Peele, and two,
Mhm.
they're two very different movies.
Extremely different movies. They're not even on the.
Mm-hmm. So it's like, you really can't do that because it, at the end of the day, it's going to make no sense. It's like, wait, what?
No.
What were we just talking about?
I feel like they could have done it better. I know the premise of Tenet is supposed to be that you can only time travel to a time and place if it's already been altered. Like you've
Mm-hmm.
already time traveled in that place, which in itself makes sense if you read it,
Yeah,
but the explanation in the movie they don't really explain it that way, you know?
yeah. Well, and then another thing I didn't like about that one was the sound mix view.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Where I was watching it at home, and there were so many times where I had to turn it down because of the effects because they were so loud, and then I had to turn it back up because the dialogue was so low. So I had to keep constantly like um, fiddling with the volume.
It's just sad.
Yeah, and then
Dang.
I heard like in the theater it was pretty much the same, except they
Wow.
didn't have a remote to change the volume.
No, you just have nothing. You just have really big speakers.
Yeah,
Became a concert halfway through, you know?
yeah. Well,
Um,
concerts. So
oh,
yeah, so
Depeche Mode.
yes,
I heard you went to a Depeche Mode concert on last Thursday.
yeah, yeah. That was quite incredible. So eh, yeah. Well, I've constantly told you numerous times on like why they're my favorite. Um,
I don't think I pass a day without hearing what new
I
Depeche
keep
Mode have you
reminding you like every day. It's just like
Trust me,
it's
I
just
got
like,
a new
so how's it
Alexa.
going? Hey,
So
did
I
I tell you
trust me,
this?
I'll be asking Alexa.
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah. It's gotten to the point now where it's almost like, um, like if I even just like showed up and I had like like I showed up to your place and we were gonna like eat like pizza and like watch some stuff, I would be I'd be calling you saying like, hey, have I told you how much I love them? Oh, it's
Yes.
5:09. Okay, I'll bring the pizza right up. Like in
Um,
pointless conversation.
I mean, I don't hate it. I actually love it when we talk about Depeche Mode because you get really excited like a schoolgirl. You're like a what's I forgot the name, the term for girls that like hang around like rock stars. I forgot what they're called. Groupies. You're like a groupie. There you go. You're like a groupie for them. I think it's really cute.
Great.
You heard me.
I do that. Um, well, I think I sent you this that in LA on, I think on December 13th in LA, that is officially Depeche Mode Day.
Yes. I'll
Yeah.
read it out loud. It says, Councilwoman Monica Rodriguez has declared December 13th, 2023 as Depeche Mode Day in LA, a special event at City Hall with honor Dave Cajon
Yeah.
and Martin Gore, as well as celebrate the synth pop outfits connection with the city. Hashtag Depeche Mode.
That's right. And you know what? Even if I'm not in LA on those days, I'm still celebrating it. Actually, I don't know why I would celebrate it, because I celebrate that like every week.
It's Depeche Mode every day.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. But you know, I certainly think, you know, in the grand scope of things, they even consider themselves like a very underground band. Like they can, I like to see them as kind of like almost like the musical score for a movie. It's like their carpet, where you're walking on it, you don't really notice it after a while, and then you're like, oh yeah, that's right, I'm walking on a carpet. This actually feels quite nice. They very much feel very like underground, and why I think they're incredibly timeless. And yeah,
I mean, I feel like you can't escape any generation without Depeche Mode being brought up at least once, because they make hits. It's almost,
well, they still do.
Yeah, they still do. It doesn't matter. They still make hits. It doesn't matter. And even older hits are still,
they're becoming new again.
They're just, they keep renewing themselves. And it's an amazing thing to see, because not a lot of bands achieve that. A lot of bands achieve that.
Well, and then another thing too is that I know, like, when I was going to school, it was like before we met. I was still a huge fan of them, and I knew everybody was like loved like the new thing, like Lady Gaga or even like Skrillex, and I was just like, what is that? But what I love saying is, like, yeah, when people said like, oh, my favorite is Lady Gaga, oh, I love Shakira, oh, I love Skrillex, I'd be like, well, guess what? Those three wouldn't be around if it wasn't for these guys.
Oh my god.
Well, that's actually true. I
mean, you're right. Yeah.
Like, I know,
I'm sure that's...
like Lady Gaga, I think she was a big fan of them. Justin Timberlake, I know, is a big fan of them. Billie Eilish is a big fan of them.
Oh, yes. And she's been to a concert or two before.
Oh, yeah?
Recently. Yeah. She's posted it on her Instagram.
Ah. Well, good. And I know, I think Shakira said that she loves Enjoy the Silence. And like that song kind of like carried her through, like, yeah, this is the kind of musical style that she wants to do. But yeah, so I always love when people tell me like, oh, I love, like I said, like love Lady Gaga, I love like Justin Timberlake, even like Coldplay or Muse or Killers. And I'm just like, well, guess what? They were all influenced by these guys. So, ha.
I mean, we won't have many of the artists now without Depeche Mode.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, what would we do without Lady Gaga? Honestly. I don't know.
I think the world
don't know.
I think the world would be dead.
I think so. I think we'd still have just everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like Depeche Mode
we need the poker face.
Oh, you're right. Yeah. But I genuinely feel like Depeche Mode is like a founding father of some sort, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know what yet, but it is a founding father.
I feel I would say a founding father of electronic music, and basically like alternative electronic music. But something that I love is that when they hit a new decade, like especially if you listen to their stuff from the 80s and then jumped to their stuff from the 90s, that's when grunge came around.
Right.
They definitely were able to change their styling, but at the same time keep it to then fit with what was definitely popular.
Right.
So, yeah, eventually when you listen to Songs of Faith and Devotion, and especially Ultra, you'll hear very much grunge sounds.
I'm a big fan of grunge, so I
Mm,
know I'll enjoy it regardless.
that's right.
And
No,
up to now, to every source, their number one is Violator.
that
It
because it's considered their most um, um, popular because of um, it's sold the most, I believe. Yeah, like looking at a every Depeche Mode album ranked from worst to best. The worst one is apparently Broken Frame, which I know how much you like that one. I kind of agree.
kinda.
No offense.
Just kidding.
Um, but but then like lower they have like Exciter and Spirit. I'm like, you know what? After listening to those two for a while, it's like, those are actually not bad.
Mm-mm.
Um, but yeah, then number two they have Violator. Number one is Music for the Masses, and I'm like, see, as much as I love both of those albums, personally, Violator is my top one, and
I
then
feel like it is for everyone, you know?
yeah, for me personally, I'd say like my top five would be one is Violator, two is Songs of Faith and Devotion, three would be I think Ultra, four would be Music for the Masses, and fifth probably their new one, which is Memento Mori. Like I was so surprised on how good that album was. Um, so yeah, um,
Well, I mean, if you want to know the semi-official list for the top five for Depeche Mode, it's Music for the Masses at number one.
mhm.
It's number two, Violator. Number three, Black Celebration. Four, Songs of Faith and Devotion. And five, Playing the Angel.
See,
Those
okay,
are,
that's
yeah.
kind of where I'll have to fight them. Playing the
Yeah.
Angel, well, I think is a great album. Um, there's something wrong with the sound mixing for that one. Like some parts sound louder than others, um, and it, yeah. Well, I think Playing the Angel is definitely a great album. I don't think it would be personally be in my top five. Songs, Faith, and Devotion, of course. Black Celebration, well, I think is a personally to me, I think is a great album. It wouldn't be in my top five.
It would be for me, but,
Mm,
fight me on that one, whatever you want.
no.
Well, if this is their least favorite band. I'm sorry, least favorite album for everyone. It's Exciter.
I disagree. Um,
It's ranked 15. It's still the very last one.
Exciter
It's
because it's different. It's definitely, well, especially they did Ultra right before that one. So if you listen to Ultra and then jump immediately to Exciter, you're like, whoa, what just happened? Exciter is more like calmer type type stuff at times. Um, they definitely do a lot of songs about love.
mhm.
Um, so I understand why not a lot of people like that one because it's very different from them, but I still hear their sounds to it. Um, yeah, did Delta Machine? Well, I personally don't think it's one of the best ones. Um, I get a kick out of some of the songs, but then I saw somebody on YouTube they released the demos for it, and I'm like, nope, the demos are way better. I'm like,
It feels like that sometimes, no? Like whatever they release isn't as good as whatever the demo was.
yeah, yeah. Well, I've heard some of the demos for their previous songs, and I'm like, okay, I definitely hear it in here, and they're cool at times. But yeah, the ones for Delta Machine, I'm like, dude, what happened? Like these sound so much better.
Oh
Like
boy.
I sent them to another friend of mine, and they were just like, well, screw that album. I'm listening to these more.
I mean, Delta Machine is ranked 13, so it's their third
It's
from last.
it's one of the lowest ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, but still, I love them. I will continue to love them, and I absolutely think they're 100% timeless. And
I
what's
agree.
and even what's funny too is that when I went to the concert, there was, a whole bunch of people there that looked like they've been listening to this stuff for like 30 years plus. And then I saw like some like little kids. And I'm like thinking to myself, okay, they were either dragged to go see them or they actually were genuinely like excited.
Dragged, honey. They were blessed to be there. Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
God bless.
Actually, yeah, they were blessed. Yeah, so it was awesome. And what was really cool was that I've seen them twice now, this current tour. One was in LA back beginning of the year, and now it's Denver.
Mm-hmm.
They did a couple of different songs for this one, and actually I was really happy they did it. Like this one, we got like Policy of Truth, which was super cool. We got Strange Love, which
Mm-hmm.
it was over the moon on that one. Waiting for the Night. I'm trying to remember. Black Celebration, and there was
Celebration's a good one.
one other one. I think it was one off the new album, but yeah, and yeah, my favorite thing was that I went with my mother, and she was super excited, and so I was that person because I already saw them. I knew kind of what they were gonna play. So then once I would hear like one of the songs start playing, I just immediately would smile and kind of like be like that friend where you're showing another friend of yours your favorite movie, and so you're kind of just like looking at the movie, but then quickly looking at their reactions.
Oh yeah,
I was doing that the whole time.
I mean, I'm looking at their song list now, and they played some pretty good ones. I'm glad they ended off with "Personal Jesus," though. I'm
Yeah,
really glad they
they've
did
been
it.
doing that the last couple tours, I believe. But yeah, so so yeah, there would be times where I'd be like, "Oh, I know what this one is," and then my mother would she'd be like, "Well, what is it?" I'm just like, "Oh, just you'll hear it." And then yeah, every once in a while, I would hear gasping coming from my left, and I just look and her jaw was dropped because she's like, "Oh no way, they're doing this one." I was like, "Uh huh."
I think it's funny how you can just already know what the song is by like the first note. You're just like, oh, it's this song. It's
Oh
gonna be
yeah,
amazing.
but when they did like the new ones, or the ones that I didn't see in L.A., I was like, "Oh no way, they're doing this one." So like, we were both in shock. So yeah, it was awesome, and even when I believe they both hit 60, they still got it. Like, they
I think
definitely still got it.
that's a lot. That's a lot of bunch of I guess rock stars or just artists in general. I feel like when they hit their golden age,
Hmm.
they're I think at that rate they're just having fun with it.
Yeah.
Just having fun being old and singing.
Mm.
But I'm glad you were able to go see Depeche Mode before Thanksgiving
Yeah.
because I just know you needed it.
Yeah. And then speaking of Thanksgiving, have
Oh
you been
boy.
to the stores lately? Like from the
Well,
past like couple
Thanksgiving.
months?
It's not even Thanksgiving yet, and everything is already 90% off. You know?
Well, what has been crazy for me is that the past couple of months, stores they'll put up Halloween stuff, and then I went to Sam's Club like the week before Halloween. All that stuff was down, and they put up Christmas stuff.
Bro.
And I'm like, it's not even November. Knock it off. Take this stuff down. Like, mainly because I was just still upset because I love Halloween, and I was like,
I know you did.
I need my horror just back up on the shelf. But
I couldn't even enter a store without having to cover my eyes from the skeletons. I don't know why. I have a big phobia of like those big, like 12 feet scarecrow skeletons. I don't know why. I
mhm,
can't handle them.
yeah, well, it sounds like Goosebumps definitely did something.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, but yeah, it seems like everybody has forgotten that Thanksgiving exists, and it's very much overlooked. And it's like, but that's the time, that's pre-Christmas. So Christmas, they always say like, oh, it's being with people you love and all that stuff. It's like, no, it's about nowadays. It's about toys. It's about capitalism. Um, Trying not to get killed when shopping, and definitely Thanksgiving, because the day after Thanksgiving is Black Friday, and it's like that's
Exactly.
another day to try not to get killed.
Well, I mean, okay, yeah. I mean, it kind of died out
Hmm.
when COVID hit.
Yeah.
So it became like a really elongated Cyber Monday.
Hmm.
It just became a Cyber Black Friday, which I mean,
Yeah, pretty
nowadays
much.
it's just kind of what it is. I feel like online shopping has really taken over physical shopping.
Hmm.
People don't want to get out. People don't have time to go out, and they just kind of trust Amazon for deals nowadays. But yeah,
Yeah.
I just feel like Thanksgiving is that holiday that doesn't last,
It,
even though
it's
it's supposed to
it's a day.
be.
It's a day. Yeah, it's to be thankful, and it certainly is. Like I definitely don't. I try not to take advantage of things, and especially the past couple of years where I've actually had to sit down and go like, wow, this I hate this. This being growing up sucks, because when you were a kid you were like, oh my god, I can't wait to grow up, and then your parents would just be like, uh-huh, just well, remember you said that. And then once you start hitting an adult, you're just like, can I go to like uh Neverland and just never grow up and be with the Lost Boys? Like, please.
Yeah, exactly. I don't
um
know. I feel like it's always been overlooked, you know?
yeah. I mean, and you can look at it like, yeah, it's about being thankful for the things you got, um thankful that you're alive. But I definitely think of that, but at the same time I think about it, it's like it's a day to just eat and stuff your face. It's
Yes.
like we
Thankful to be alive and alive that you can eat. A lot of people can't even eat Thanksgiving meals. They gotta
Yeah.
liquefy that shit. Or they
Yeah.
have bags, like the liquid IV
Hmm.
bags.
Yeah.
They can't even eat food,
Hmm.
basically.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like, just I it's very much overlooked, because you have Halloween, which is nowadays, like, no one really cares anymore. I don't know if you've noticed, but no one really cares about Halloween anymore now.
No, I didn't see much. I mean, my neighbor, I wasn't here for Halloween
Hmm.
at my place. So I didn't get to see it that often, but I heard that there were no trick-or-treaters anymore. That apparently the trunk or treat is what they're calling it,
Yeah.
where
Thanks,
people
school.
go to random parking lots or a designated place and there's a bunch of cars. They open up the trunk and there's just candy.
Yep. Yeah.
So,
My little brother's school did that, and yeah, I was just going like, okay, it's cool to like deck out your trunk, and like, okay, that's cool, but at the end of it, it's just like, but you're just kind of like just walking around and just holding up your bag and just going like, just give me the candy. It's like, all right, well, okay. And then especially for me, I was never a big trick or treater when I was a kid. Like, at a certain point, I was just like, I'm done. But around that age, that's when I kind of drifted from going out and trick or treating to staying inside and just watching horror movies, because I was just going like, yeah, I prefer this than going outside. But
yeah,
um,
I agree on that
but,
one.
but then now that I'm like, oh wow, I can actually just go to the store and just buy my own candy. It's like,
I mean, now they
all
have
right,
adult money, we can just get the bag of candy,
yeah, we're
eat it
not
all,
we're not
stuff your
making
face.
we're not making money from our parents because we're doing chores for them. Now we
As
actually
if we ever bring money
have
from doing chores.
yeah, yeah. Now we actually are earning our money, and it's just like, great, we can get our own candy. Um, so yeah, I definitely think nowadays Halloween has definitely been overlooked, and especially Thanksgiving. It's just like, that's the day to be thankful and stuff your face with food, and people are just saying like, yep, we're good, we're
Yeah.
we're done.
I
So
mean, I want to complain about that a little bit. I just feel like it's not just a day
mhm.
where you can stuff your face and finally see the family after a year of not seeing them again.
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much, but I feel like just the message of Thanksgiving really it's just not there anymore. People remember Christmas because they get gifts, but at the same time, it's not just about getting gifts and giving gifts, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like
Oh, yeah.
as the years go by, things lose its meaning. And
yeah.
it's really hard to reel people back in because all they do is think about food, gifts, and seeing family members you don't want to see in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah. It kind of reminds me. Have you seen the movie? Was it Krampus or Krampus?
Yes, Krampus?
Yeah.
Krampus?
It's people say it multiple different ways. Like I've heard people say Krampus. People say it's Krampus. I'm just like, all right, whatever.
Cramp.
But no, it's like that very much the like family that they're just basically trying to get by. Like, oh yeah, we know we have to do this. Where in your coffee you slip in some alcohol. And yeah, it's just like, oh, let's just get this over with. It feels very much like that. But yeah, it's just holidays have definitely changed. Just like no one really cares anymore.
Yeah, it kind of sucks because I feel like it kind of stopped after our generation.
Yeah.
Yeah. And after that, it just became after Thanksgiving, Black Friday sales, and Christmas is just getting really expensive gifts. Like it's the time of year where you think everyone expected to get a gift or something. They don't really focus on anything else. Because I know starting now, they're doing a shit ton of toy drives and community service
like
stuff.
The Toys for Tots
I feel like
thing.
people forget that those exist too.
Yeah. Yep. Holidays have definitely changed, and some say like, it's for the better. I'm just like, yeah.
No, I just feel like it's one step towards everyone just being narcissist.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone's a psychopath.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, those statistics of every 1 in 5 is a psychopath or a sociopath. I believe it now.
Well,
I 100% do.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we'll stay on the topic of Thanksgiving, but really quick, have you seen the trailer for Madam Web?
No, I need to look that up while you talk about it.
Okay. So this goes to the Spider-Man universe that Sony is trying to do, and what they're doing with it, I'm going, okay, it looks cool, but at the same time, it's like, why? Like something I'll give Sony this with the Spider-Man movies outside of Spider-Man, because that's in the MCU. So like Venom or even like Kraven, they look cool. The trailers, they look cool. But then you see the movies and it's like, wow, that kind of sucked. And something that they're doing is, and this is something that really is irritating me, is that they are changing the dynamic of a character. So like Kraven and Venom, they are villains, not anti-heroes.
Well, they're called vigilantes in the movies, I guess.
Yeah, but still, the way that they say that, but then the way that they portray them throughout the film, it's like, nope, they're trying to be anti-heroes. It's like this doesn't work, guys. Like, yeah. So it kind of worries me, but yeah, that's just me.
Yeah, I'm looking into it right now. I quite like Dakota to play Madame Web.
Well, the only thing that actually no, that's not true. The only thing that I knew from her at a certain point was the 50 Shades movie, and personally to me, I think they're utter crap.
Oh no, come on, Trevor. They're women only. That's why they're utter crap to you. Women only movies.
No, they are horror films for
Yes.
women.
Okay, well, I think I don't know any man that would fantasize the way they did 50 Shades of Grey. Unless you're really into BDSM, you know?
They're still horror films.
Okay.
But anyway, but then I saw her in this one movie called Bad Times at the El Royale.
Mm-hmm.
And that movie has actually quite a cast. It's a pretty much like a murder mystery in a motel, but it has like her. It has John Hamm, Jeff Bridges, Chris Hemsworth. It's actually pretty good, and she was actually pretty good in it. So yeah, when they announced that, oh yeah, she's gonna be Madam Web, and it's like, okay, so it's gonna be like a prequel. Like, all right, let's see what they do. So then they released the trailer, I think like a week ago, and it's like, what? Like, okay, this is kind of what you're doing here.
I'm looking at the comics, and what I'm reading for the new movie and what the comics are about, they don't mix.
No, they don't.
They don't. No, they don't at all. So
yeah, because that's what Sony is doing with the Marvel characters, is that they're kind of slapping the comics in the face and going, let's just create our own story. Let's take the characters and maybe some of the locations from the comics and kind of make up our own story, but don't make them villains. Well, in Madam Web's case, she is a hero.
Mm-hmm,
in
right.
Kraven and Venom's case, they're very much villains. Like, when you do get the chance, play Spider-Man 2. The versions of those two that they portray in that game are villains. And it's like, see, this is it. And, you know, as much as I think, you know, Tom Hardy was, I think, all right as Venom, just the way that they're portraying it just wasn't very good. We don't know much about Kraven yet, but that's was it Aaron Taylor Johnson? And they said like, oh, it's gonna be R-rated, like it's definitely gonna be mature, and it's like, yeah, but if you don't have the story, nor if you like do the character justice, that R rating is gonna be nothing. So,
yeah, I mean, I agree with you on that one. There's no point of making it R-rated if it's not gonna showcase the R-rated.
Yeah. But, you know, so personally, and then now Sony is actually trying to weave its way into the MCU. So they're trying to weave Venom, weave Kraven into the MCU, and it's like, maybe that can work, but what you kind of started out with isn't very good. So I think if you either give all of that to, you know, just Marvel alone, maybe they can do something cool with it and maybe make it justice. I don't know nowadays. Maybe back then they could have.
Okay, well,
but then if Marvel then steps on the brakes and goes like, okay, let's rethink this. But you know, we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see more female Spider-Mans. I don't know if the movie's going to be any good, but I mean, whoever, do you know who's directing this or no?
No, I don't.
Okay, well, whoever's directing, I just hope they do a good job with whatever they got, because obviously it's not going to follow any of the comics. So whatever it is, I just hope it's good.
Yeah. Director S.J. Clarkson, who worked on a lot of the Netflix Marvel shows. She worked on The Defenders, worked on Jessica Jones.
Okay.
Worked on Bates Motel. Worked on Dexter for a little bit. So she's definitely has a background in television. And from the looks of it, this looks like her first movie.
Oh God. I mean, television work and movie isn't that far off, but there are, you know, bumps in the road with each one. So we'll see how it goes. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, Dexter's pretty good. So, I mean, just add a little bit of Dexter in.
Because everybody loves him. Because everybody loves him.
Exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, so I don't know. While it'd be cool to see like almost like an extended universe of Spider-Man stuff, because there is a lot they could do. The way that Sony, I think, started it with Venom was kind of like, really, you guys are doing this? And yeah, and then especially with Venom 2, it was like, oh, this looks so cool. Nope. No, it wasn't. But that's personally just me. But
I think that's just personally you. I think the second Venom was good in its sense. I wouldn't say it was the best, but it was good. You know, I'm not gonna give it shit. I mean, I think they did really well. I know Venom is supposed to be behind in the timeline somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he just came back after the snap.
Yeah,
like that's exactly where the second movie is where it's at. So I don't know. I feel like they need to give us a little bit more, like they did with Spider-Man. You know, just another movie.
Yeah. Well,
just one more.
I think with the first movie, what I was it kind of made me slap my forehead was in the first movie, Venom basically says like, "Oh yeah, I'm kind of an outcast and like the nerd on my planet." It's like, really? Like, really?
I don't remember him saying that in the.
Oh, he did. I remember that. Yeah. He was kind of like, I'm kind of a nerd, and you're a nerd, so that makes two of us. That's like, wait, hold on, what? It's like, no, I don't believe that for a second.
I don't know if he ever actually said that in the comics, but if he did,
not in the
why?
comics, but not in the comics.
Oh.
Yeah, they didn't say that in the comics.
No, he didn't.
Yeah. So. Yeah, but yeah, we'll see how Madam Web goes, because they said it's going to be next year.
We got a lot of things coming out next year. We got Kung Fu Panda. Shrek.
Personally, Kung Fu Panda, I've only seen the first one. I haven't seen any of the sequels.
I can't respect you anymore.
Yeah, but I've seen all the Shrek movies. So
listen,
yeah.
Listen, I don't know what more they can do with Shrek. I really don't know. I feel like they should have just ended off where they did, but
well, I remember them saying that they were going to possibly do a reboot of it, and that the fifth one would be almost like a reboot.
No,
and
no, don't say that.
But then the problem is that they said like, yeah, it's going to be like possibly a reboot. Like that was an idea they had, but then they were going to have all the original cast back. And it's like, okay, but if you're gonna remake this thing, why bring the original actors back?
I think I don't think they want to change the voice actors because it won't be the same.
Well, it's definitely not going to be the same.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like, I guess you're right. I guess in a sense that if they bring back the original voices, it'll be hard to differentiate the newer tracks to the older tracks.
The issue is that one, like I know Mike Myers, he's definitely gone off the rails the last couple of years. Eddie Murphy has been making like resurgence. In fact, they're filming the fourth Beverly Hills Cop right now.
Oh.
Cameron Diaz, she is retired.
Yep.
Antonio Banderas, he's still Puss in Boots, and I'm like, yeah, if they replace him as Puss in Boots, I'm like, we're gonna have a big problem.
I'll kill myself. I've always loved Puss in Boots' voice. I mean, he's an iconic. Okay, you can't change him.
Yeah.
You can change everyone else but Puss in Boots. That's it. Just keep him. That's it. That's the only condition.
Yeah.
But I heard that they're trying to put Antonio Banderas in the MCU too as a villain. I don't know if you heard that.
I did not hear that.
I'll look it up for you right now. Just watch.
God.
I heard it yesterday.
Did they say it was in talks? Was it rumored?
It said that it was in talks. So
oh boy,
I'm not sure what that means in the film world. I think it just means that they might or may not.
I mean, for a while they've been trying to put Keanu Reeves in the MCU for a while. Like, actually, he was supposed to be Jude Law's character in the first Captain Marvel, but he was busy shooting John Wick 3, so he's like, nope.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here it is. It says exclusive Antonio Banderas offered Galactus in Fantastic Four movie.
They offered him Galactus?
They offered him Galactus.
What? Okay. All right. Okay.
I mean, I'm not too well-rounded with the Fantastic Four, but I'm guessing not a good fit. I've seen the character design for Galactus. I don't know how much I say Antonio Banderas fits it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll see what they do.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
But yeah, so they were actually thinking of putting Keanu Reeves to play Ghost Rider. And I'm like,
oh my God.
I'm like, well, here's the thing. I'm thinking like, okay, that's a cool idea. But then they throw another person that they're actually they're talking with him about it. Norman Reedus.
No way.
Mm-hmm. And I'm like, you know what? That's actually a pretty good choice. Like, I remember when people were saying that Keanu Reeves, he was in talks to be in Captain Marvel. People said that he was in talks to be Moon Knight. He's in talks to play Ghost Rider. So like, I remember all that. And I was like, yeah, well, he's doing John Wick right now, but
oh, that's right. The last movie, no? There's one more movie?
They are currently writing 5.
Wow.
They're currently writing 5. They don't know if it's going to happen or not, but if they say yes, it's going to happen, they have something. And then Keanu will show up as Wick in the Ballerina spin-off movie with was it Anya de Armas?
Huh.
Yeah. Do you remember in 3?
John Wick.
Yeah, where he goes to Angelica Houston, and
yes,
yeah, all the guys were doing like taekwondo and karate, and all the women were doing ballerina.
Yeah,
it's gonna be that.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
it's gonna be that.
Okay.
So yeah, that's what the ballerina movie's gonna be.
I feel like John Wick 4 was a great ending. I think the open-ended thing. I think he's dead. Right? He's supposed to be dead in 4.
Okay, they didn't say it. I love how you just went right there. They were just like, I think 4 was great. I think he's dead.
He has a grave and everything. We don't know he faked his death or not.
Well, and that's what I really liked about it, was that it left it open ending. It ended. It was just, that's why I love that moment between Ian McShane and Lawrence Fishburne, where he Fishburne says like, so where do you think he is, heaven or hell? And then McShane goes, who knows? It's basically say like, is he dead? Maybe. Is he not dead? Maybe. We don't know.
Who knows?
So it left it open ended, so that way they could say, okay, this, if we wanted to do a 5th one, it works. But if we wanted to end the series here, it works as well. Yeah.
So regardless, they either screw it up, or they can just leave it as the iconic open-ended movie. You know, like I don't know. I feel like 5 is pushing it. You know, I feel like.
Well, and even they were saying about it. They said like either 4 or 5 would make it good, like the last one. And then especially what they did with 5, like all the action, it's kind of like, all right, what are you guys gonna do next? Because 5 went, according to Keanu, they just went overboard. And it's like, but it all looked awesome.
I agree. I agree. I just think there's some movies that just need to stop, you know, like Fast and Furious. They need to stop too. They should have just ended at 7.
Well, they're supposedly ending it with 11.
Yeah.
Because that was the original idea, was that 9 would set up a trilogy that then ended the series, and I'm like,
Oh,
no,
so
that's not going to happen.
that was what was planned. That's not what's happening.
Yeah, no, that's originally what was planned. They said that
Fucking cool.
9 was supposed to be a trilogy, or was supposed to start a trilogy, that then 9 or 10 and 11 would be the last. But yeah, Hollywood, they'll say like, yeah, it's the end, but then, in that series they'll resurrect them all and just, do all that stuff, because that's happened where they've characters will get killed off and then they'll bring them back.
Yes, I mean the most recent one was when they brought back Han. Like, that motherfucker died in a car crash and came back alive. And then when they tried to explain the death, they were like, "Yeah, it was a hologram." I'm like,
yeah, because they don't care anymore. Yeah, they don't care anymore. I still remember when they killed off Michelle Rodriguez in 4. And then
my God,
brought
yes.
her back,
And then
I
they
think,
brought her
a
back.
movie
She
or
had,
two later, and said like, "Oh yeah, she survived, but she had amnesia."
Yeah,
it's like, what?
yeah. She. I don't understand that. And then they brought back Gal Gadot. She
They
literally
did.
fell from an airplane.
Yeah,
She survived.
She died. I think it was 5.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it was just
I
like,
think it was 5.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think she did. She came back mainly because Wonder Woman, her checks weren't coming in.
Oh, that's right.
Because right now they're saying that 3 is currently canceled. She's not contracted to come back as Wonder Woman, nor she has been in talks to reprise her role in the new DC universe.
Mm.
So it's currently like, is she done? Like, what's going on here?
I mean, I hope not. I feel like Gal Gadot really did Wonder Woman some justice. I feel like she was one of the best Wonder Womans.
I think she was one of the best parts in the Batman v Superman movie. The first Wonder Woman movie I really liked. 1984. There were so many plot holes to that.
I didn't understand it.
And then that's another problem that I have with with time travel, and then with doing a Wishes type movies, is that there's multiple rooms for plot holes and errors, where it's like, with Wishes, it's like, well, why didn't you just wish for this? Why didn't you wish for this?
Yeah, I agree. I don't know. I feel like they make them stupid on purpose. I mean, yeah, they wrote them that way.
Well, and then the main thing that I hate, that the main thing I could not get past in 1984 was, she wanted Chris Pine back.
Yeah,
and
that's
they
right.
couldn't just wish him back. Like, oh, he's just there. No, he's there. No, we have to wish him back, so he pretty much is possessing someone that looks like him. It's like, what? You can't just bring him back?
I didn't like that either.
Yeah.
Where she got her wish.
Yeah.
And then she defeats the supervillain, and then all of a sudden he gotta fucking die. And that's crazy, because she's never gonna move on from him.
Oh yeah, I know.
She's never.
Well, and then and then have you seen the How It Should Have Ended for that one?
Yes.
Yeah, where she's chasing Pedro Pascal, and then Pascal asks a soldier, like, "Do you wish she was gone?" Like, yeah, I wish she was gone. And then all of a sudden she just disappears, and it was like, yep, they could have just done that, and that would have worked and made sense. And then the whole the whole cheetah thing going on. I was like,
oh yeah,
yeah, until the very end, where she became like a Jellicle cat from Cats.
Yes.
Yeah, I was that's just so bad.
I mean, I know it's supposed to touch into the Amazonian roots, but it could have made a costume a little bit better than that. I don't know if that's canon to the comic. I really don't. But
yeah, it wasn't even a costume. It was just like she became a cat. So yeah, because once she defeated Pascal, the wishes became were rejected. So everything went back to normal, and she was like, the fur was like coming off, And I was like, so you literally became a cat. It wasn't like a costume you had. And I was like, whoa, like really?
She became a furry for like a
Yeah,
split
she
second,
totally did. And I was like, what's happening? Like, do you guys not care anymore?
I don't think they cared from the beginning.
that's why they're redoing the whole universe.
Okay,
Which did you hear who has been I think they said this is confirmed of who has been cast as Lex Luthor?
oh God, who?
Nicholas Hoult.
Nicholas Hoult?
Yeah. And yeah, I know I was kind of the same way, like watch The Menu. His character is like, you love him and then a split second later you hate him.
Huh.
So he becomes
Okay.
that like love-hate kind of person. And yeah, the way he portrays his character is very much a foodie. So like he says he's like, oh, this food is so like magnificent, like using like all these like words like a food critic would say. But then it's Anya Taylor-Joy that he's with. She's very much in the camp of like, it's just food, who cares? And it's kind of like, she's got a point.
I mean, didn't she order a cheeseburger and that made her like not get killed? I mean,
among other things, yes.
okay,
but there was a purpose
things,
to that cheeseburger.
Is the noted one? Okay, yeah. The cheeseburger.
Well, they made a point of why she got a cheeseburger.
Yeah, well,
but plus also
I haven't watched it, so all I know is that she ordered a cheeseburger.
It's a dark comedy.
Oh, I like dark comedy.
It actually is. It's not me just saying it. Like, it's actually the way they did it.
Oh yes, Trevor. Everything is a dark comedy for you.
Yeah. You know, I bet you, like, you can sit in a room and we're watching, you know, Evil Dead 2 or something like that. They're showing like all this like horrific and gory things, and people are just going, "Ew, it's gross." I'll just be laughing.
Yeah, I expect that much from you, and then they'll really know who the sociopath is in the room.
I don't care.
I know you don't.
I just don't.
It's okay.
Well, speaking of gory and getting things, let's get back to the topic of hand, which is Thanksgiving.
Oh boy.
So
we really skyrocketed off that topic, didn't we?
Yeah, we totally did. But that's because we were going like, oh, let's quickly change it to this, and then we'll go back to that 30 minutes later. Well, that's just the way we do. But so we want to talk about Thanksgiving. And I think a movie that portrayed Thanksgiving somewhat accurate, at least when we were in school, we had to do those stupid Thanksgiving plays, was The Addams Family.
Okay, I agree 100%.
So, yeah, let's talk about both The Addams Family and Addams Family Values, because the Thanksgiving thing comes in values. It's the very beginning. It's I think it was Christmas for the first one. I think.
Yeah.
I think it was Christmas, and then it became Halloween at the end of the movie.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's Halloween for every day for them.
Which is fine. That's always a plus.
Great. Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah. So, yeah, the first Addams Family. I know you're gonna say everything that you love about it.
Of course.
So, you know, I saw this one. I think I saw this one first. These two movies are my viewpoints to the Addams Family. These are the ones that I grew up watching, and not like any of the new stuff, or that came between then and now. And yeah, I watched Values more because I like it more. But I also watched they had like the 90s like cartoon they had, and they also had the 60s show. So I was
The 60s
familiar.
show was my favorite, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me it was my favorite, apart from the 1991s.
Yeah. Um, yeah. So I was very much, aware, and I watched all the Addams Family stuff, and the new stuff that's come out now. I've seen all of Wednesday, and I saw clips of the CG ones they did a couple years ago, and it's just like, all right, the CGI, this looks like garbage. And what sucked about it is that when they revealed the cast of it, I was like, okay, maybe that cast does work in some doses, but I just can't get over the animation. And I know they were trying to make it look like the cartoon from the 90s, but throwing that into CGI, it's just like that they just look ill.
He do look ill.
I mean, apart from the Addams Family where they're supposed to be all like gothic,
I
and
don't
it's
know.
just like, yeah, this they look like they need to, they're constantly asking us, like, we need you to kill us, like we should not exist. Um,
I
but
mean, you're not wrong about that.
but yeah, so luckily we didn't grow up with that. We kind of grew up with the 90s, or
Yeah.
in some cases the 60s show.
The 60s have a lot of reruns for sure.
Oh
when
yeah,
I was growing
and
up.
they still do nowadays. They still rerun
They
that show.
do, yeah. In certain channels, you do.
Yeah. Well, also a lot of shows like from the 50s and 60s they're doing reruns on, like Addams Family,
Mhm.
or even more specifically Twilight Zone.
Oh, yep.
Yeah,
You're right.
I still see reruns of that show. But one so yeah, I grew up with these two, and especially the cast they had. So you had Raul Julia, Angelica Houston, Christina Ricci, Christopher Lloyd. They're the ones, when I think of Addams Family, I go, they're the versions I see. And it's kind of like that thing of like, so a lot of people have asked me like, oh, so what Batman is your definitive version of Batman? And like, I really don't have one, but I do know a voice, and that's
Yeah.
that was Kevin Conroy. It's like when I hear Batman, when I think of Batman, I'm like, that's his voice. That's the voice I hear. So to me, when it comes to Addams Family, while I think Jenna Ortega did a pretty good job portraying Wednesday, I think my definitive version of Wednesday is Ricci.
Okay.
That's me.
Obviously, for me, it's going to be John Aston, the 60s version of
Where he was
Gomez.
Gomez.
But I agree. I think Raul Julia has to come in pretty close to that. I think him and Angelica Huston both did really great doing Morticia Addams and Gomez Addams.
Yeah, and then I think because I know when the CGI'd movies they did, it was Gomez was Oscar Isaac, and Morticia was, I think it was Charlize Theron. And it's like, okay. And then for the Wednesday show, it was Luis Guzman and Catherine Zeta-Jones. And I was going like, okay, that's I think that's a better one, but still, to me, it's like, they're the definitive versions. Really can't talk. But yeah, but then at the same time, it's like, if it wasn't for Aston, Gomez wouldn't be the way that he is. And then I'm sure Julia was trying to kind of almost impersonate John Aston.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like a lot of the mannerisms that John Aston, I feel like Julia really did captivate that with the Addams Family.
Yeah. And then with Angelica Houston. I forget the actress who was Morticia in the 60s show.
Carolyn Jones.
Thank you. Yeah, definitely. Like it was like they were trying to embody those versions, but at the same time trying to make it like
Mhm.
made in today's, because the last, if memory serves me right, yeah, it was the 90s version was the first time that audiences saw the Addams Family for 30 plus years. So it was a huge jump.
Yeah. It was because they ended the series in 66.
Yeah, like the
So the
60s.
original only lasted about 3 years.
Mm-hmm. So yeah,
And
it was
yeah.
that was the last time that they had really saw the Addams Family, you know, on screen. So it was kind of like we need to make this big jump. So we went from the 60s, now we're in the 90s. So it's like,
Oof,
how are we
big
gonna,
old jump.
yeah, like how are we gonna make this like, and because Addams Family wasn't set during a certain time period, um, their time period was it's set now. So it's like that was the 60s, now is the
Right.
90s. So it's like,
Yeah.
all right, so how are we gonna make this? And I personally think they did a really good job with that, with both movies.
Oh yeah,
Um, and
I agree.
yeah, I still love going. Personally, to me, I think Values is my favorite out of the two.
I have to disagree. I like the Addams Family more
Like the
than I
first
do
one more.
Values.
Yeah. Um, I mean, I was liking what they were doing with the second one more. I mean, and also I felt like in the second one, each member of the family had something going on. Where with the first one, it was mainly about, it was mainly about Uncle Fester, Gomez. It was mainly kind of the adults, and there were times when Wednesday and Pugsley were in there,
Hmm.
but the whole thing really wasn't about the family. Two, I think it was um, more about the family. I mean, with two, I still love going to revisit scenes where like Wednesday and Pugsley are in camp and they're trying to escape, and then in order to, this is according to them not a punishment, but they sing "Kumbaya" to them, and to me, I think that is a punishment. Um,
We do have Pugsley trying to hang himself in a scene. So.
but I love how that was in the background too.
Yeah,
Like
it's just
it
Adam
wasn't in the
being
forefront. It
seen
was
in
just
the
like, hey, what is he doing over there?
background.
Well, yeah, and then once they get there, Gomez hands Pugsley a cigar.
Oh
Like, yeah, you
yes.
better enjoy it now, kid. um, but I still love going to when the baby is quote unquote sick, and she's reading him, and Morticia's reading the baby Cat in the Hat,
Yeah.
and then she skips to the end and just goes, "Oh no, he lives."
Oh no.
I still,
All because he didn't like black.
yeah,
Oh.
yeah. Yeah, my baby's ill, my husband's dying, mother, what should I do? They have a black dress. Yeah. I think that each person of the family had something more going on with the second movie than the first one, but
Mhm,
I still
I agree.
liked what they did with the first movie. I still did, but I just think the second one, it was like, all right, the first one, it's like, okay, how are we gonna do this? And then with the second one, it was like, okay, we've proven ourselves that we could do this. Let's do more with it. And usually that happens a lot with making movies, and especially the sequels, where it's like the
Yeah,
first
I
one,
agree.
it's just like, okay, we're trying to prove ourselves that yes, we can do this. To then when the
And they
sequels
did.
come, it's like, all right, we've proven ourselves. Like I always go to like Scream 5. It's that they didn't really
Oh.
think that this was going to continue the way they did, and this was them kind of trying to put their foot in the door and say like, yeah, we could actually make this good and bring this series, back back on its legs. And with 5, I think they did prove themselves. To then when they did 6, it was like, all right, we've proven ourselves. we could do this. Now let's try to make this better. And personally, I liked 6 more than 5. I know a lot of people said that it's the other way around. Some people did not like 5 and 6, but everybody's got their own opinions. And so, but I still think the biggest example. Jeez, I need a drink. I need a drink. Is the Dark Knight trilogy. If you go from Batman Begins, that one was Nolan trying to prove to the studio, like, okay, I'm gonna try not to step on your toes, because at the time Batman was a big get, and and at the time Nolan wasn't a big name yet. He didn't do Inception, he didn't do Interstellar or Tenet or Oppenheimer yet. So he only had a couple movies under his belt that were all really good. And so then when, it was proven that, like, oh, we can make a really good Batman movie, and we can make the studio buttloads of money, then they got more confident with Dark Knight, and then Dark Knight was just incredible. And then we got Dark Knight Rises, and we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
But
that one.
But yeah, in the movie world, or even like TV shows are a prime example. It's, you start out, if you're going to start out a movie from an already existing franchise, you need to kind of prove yourself, like, okay, we can actually do this. To then when they notice that you can, then they'll start throwing more money at you or giving more of their trust in you. So yeah, I definitely feel like the first Addams Family was them saying, okay, we're going to take this family who we haven't seen since the 60s and kind of make it into today's time. Now, how are we going to do that without making people upset? And I think with the first movie, they definitely accomplished that. And then with Values, I think they did more. But
yeah.
So yeah, I do like both the Addams Family movies. Like I said, I like the second one a little bit more, but I still find myself going and rewatching the first one. And if somebody said to me, like, hey, we're gonna watch both of the 90s Addams Family movies, you in? I'd be like, yeah, I'd totally watch both of them. No, it's not like...
Yeah, that would be me, not somebody. That's me.
Yeah, that's probably going to be you.
I mean, I like both. I think they both complement each other. I think it stands good as the first movie and it stands good as the second movie. I mean, for the topic of Thanksgiving, the second movie really plays in more due to the very, very well executed play they did towards the end of the movie at camp,
Well, they definitely threw in the horrors of actually being a kid and being in a school play. We're just this is just awful. Well, I still love the line where Pugsley is the turkey. He's like, eat me, and then I am a turkey, kill me. It's just so funny.
I mean, he did a really good job playing that turkey.
Oh yeah. But I still love how Wednesday was Pocahontas.
Yes, I don't know why they made her Pocahontas.
Even she was surprised about that. She's like, "What?"
I know. Me?
Yeah.
But
so then, in order to get the joy in them, or basically poison them, they show them a whole bunch of Disney movies.
I don't know how that helped in any kind of way. I think Wednesday picked at every single one of them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she was right about every single one of them, but
yeah,
Yeah.
But
yeah, I think the Addams Family really does show you how you can be a really strong knit family, regardless of what other people think. Yeah. Because, I mean, Wednesday and Pugsley hate each other, but that doesn't mean they're less siblings.
Mm-hmm.
It's a weird type of love. They'll never say they love each other, but, deep down they do.
Yeah. Well, and then when you watch the Wednesday show, the beginning of that show is Wednesday sees Pugsley get picked on. So then she's like, you really need to stand up for yourself because this is ridiculous. So definitely giving him that you're an idiot, but like that pep talk of like, yeah, you seriously like need need a punch up, so let me take care of this for you, and then basically sets piranhas on on the swim team.
Spoiler. I mean, I think she kills him.
Everybody's
No,
seen it.
I think yeah.
Besides,
I think
that's the first scene in the show, so it's
I
kind of
mean
like everybody knows that she goes to school, so it's like, oh well, the whole show takes place at the school.
yeah.
So
I
it's like,
think
how
it
did she
was
get
like
there?
her.
Boom, here it is, 5 minutes.
Yeah, she's been going in and out of high schools.
Yeah.
She keeps killing people at every high school. It's not a very fun track record.
No. but yeah, it's that like that sibling love where they don't say they love each other, but then they work together. The chemistry they have, it works, but they have that kind of weird relationship like in between, where it's like they help each other not because they want to, but more or less they kind of need to.
Mm-hmm.
And it definitely that's very much like a lot of siblings, where it's kind of
Yeah.
like, I don't really want to help you, but I need to.
It's like a sense of responsibility for the older ones, for sure.
Oh yeah.
Maybe sometimes for the younger ones, if their older siblings aren't getting their shit together, but it definitely does feel like a sense of like responsibility for each other.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you will be the closest people to each other than anyone.
Yeah.
So that's why I didn't quite like the Addams. I'm sorry, I didn't quite like the Wednesday adaptation of their family, because I felt like Morticia and Gomez didn't really fit with the rest of the other universes, because I felt like they didn't really understand Wednesday.
Well, and then at the same time, this version was supposed to be like solely focused on Wednesday, when the family was kind of like in the back burner.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that the whole premise of the show is Wednesday. I mean, it's called Wednesday, but I feel like they could have still added elements of Morticia and Gomez.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I mean, I've said it. I know a lot of people, they love the Wednesday series, and I'm like, I liked most of it. There are things in there where I'm like, I wish that was different, or wish this was changed, or they add more of this, like what you said. But at the end of the day, it's like, I had a good time watching it. Would I be up to watch it again? I wouldn't rush to watch it again.
Mm-mm.
Like, I have a member of my family who has seen it like 4 times.
What the hell? 4 times?
Yeah, like 4 times. And I'm like, see, I'm kind of like, I've seen it, and, would I watch it again, maybe with somebody who hasn't seen it, who wanted to see it, sure, maybe. But I don't have that urge, that rush to rewatch this.
Yeah, it wasn't one of those. Because with the other ones, even with the 60s show, it's kind of like, oh, great, I want to go rewatch an episode because they have it on YouTube. Or, to stumble across it and you rewatch it like 5 times a day.
Yeah.
It's not those type of shows. I don't know. I just felt like the chemistry between Wednesday and her family was really lackluster for me. And that's kind of what did it for me. Because I felt like she had more chemistry with the hand. Oh my God, I forgot his name. I forgot the name of the
Thing.
Boo?
Thing.
Thank you. She had more chemistry with Thing than she did with her family.
Yeah. Well, and then after a while, she started to pick up like, oh, were you here to spy on me?
Basically.
And basically, he became the servant to her, because she was like, yeah, if you tell, like, I will do things to you.
Mm-hmm.
So it became like blackmail. So yeah, with I think the Wednesday series, I think they were definitely I think there was definitely a family dynamic there, but they felt very lackluster, or like they weren't communicating a whole lot. Where with, I think, the 90s, or especially the 60s, but even the 90s ones, they were much better at that.
I agree. I remember when they first introduced Morticia and Gomez, people were complaining how they weren't completely in love with each other. They felt like the characters didn't have that, that connection that the other Morticias and Gomez have, because with every single, like with the past two, the 60s and 90s, you can feel it. You can feel that they're in love with each other. Like to the point where you can even see that the actors fell in love with each other by playing Morticia and Gomez.
Yeah. Well, I still love the line in the first movie where Gomez is having trouble with something, and Morticia was like, "Hey, don't kill yourself. That's my job." And like,
yeah, I remember that.
It's like that. It's that like twisted love that they have, and it's funny.
Yeah, and I just didn't feel it. Even I think it was the first episode where they dropped off Wednesday and they were talking in the car. Mm-hmm. You just don't feel it. It feels like it just doesn't feel like they love each other.
You felt like they had to go to counseling like a couple times a month.
Yeah, it's like they see each other every other month,
Yeah.
I think that's what was missing. I think just a connection between the family, because I know it's about Wednesday, but at the same time, she's still in Addams, and it's still Addams related because she's going to the school where her mother went and where her dad went. So regardless of it's still a family movie because they bring them up every single other episode, because Morticia was a famous fencer at the school, if I'm not wrong, or something like that.
I believe so.
I think so.
I might have to ask my family member about that since they've seen it like 4 times.
Yeah. But if I remember, because she was a famous fencer, and then that's how she met Gomez in some form of way.
Yeah.
But I feel like the backstory of how they met was more romantic than they are in the car,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, and then that's what I meant. Like, I wish they touched upon that a little bit more. And also with the 90s one, I think, there was definitely a family dynamic there. When with the Wednesday series, I know it's about her, but it felt like the family was kind of taking a back seat, and it was kind of like, hey, we're here for support, or we'll hear when the plot needs us, kind of thing.
Yeah. But I also feel like they didn't execute it because, the animated series that came out, or the animated movie that came out in 2018, the weird
the
one
CGI
where they
one.
move into a weird neighborhood, that one?
Yeah.
It was mainly focused on Wednesday too, but they still added the Addams family dynamic to it. And that was a really good way to keep it balanced.
And that's something that happens with a lot of series, is that when fans find a character that they like the most, they're going to want more from that character and less from the others. And Wednesday is a prime example, because I think people said that they think that Wednesday is their favorite character of the Addams.
Oh.
And they're kind of like they want the family to take a back seat. But the problem is that when you remove a character from or an existing like family or other characters or show or whatever, then it's going to be really, really difficult, because it's going to be weird. Because you're like, okay, well, now we have a whole show about one character. It's a one-character show. When it's like, okay, what about these other characters? Oh, they don't really matter. And it's like, but you're missing a huge chunk of what made these characters so special and why they make them work. So to basically remove all that, it just doesn't work.
Yeah. That's why it didn't hit with me with Wednesday, because I thought I was going to enjoy it. They were like, oh, it's Wednesday from the Addams Family and this and that. And I was like, oh, cool. Great. You watch it and you're just like, but this doesn't feel like Wednesday. This doesn't feel like what she would feel like if her whole family was there, you know?
Yeah. So, yeah. But I think I still love, there was a picture I saw that was from the show, and it was her and, what was the other character that she was sharing her room with, who then they become friends throughout the season. She was wearing all bright pink and yellow outfits, and then of course Wednesday was wearing her all like black and dark stuff. Somebody put the logos of Erasure over or Fred, and then Depeche Mode over Wednesday.
Oh,
And I was like, that's pretty accurate, actually. Like
I mean, yeah,
that's quite funny.
basically.
Well, yeah, and then when I went to the concert, everybody was in black. Everybody. And I'm just like,
It's
and I'm just thinking the whole time, like, I'm with my people. But yeah, I back to the '90s. I really like what they did, with both of them, and something I do like is that you don't necessarily need to watch them in order. I mean, of course, it helps to watch them in order, but there's times where I'm like, hey, I just want to watch the first one and just skip the second one, or there's times where I'm like, hey, I just want to watch Values and I'll skip the first one, and they work. So it's not like when you watch the second one, it's not like a previously on the Addams Family like a lot of shows do. So they kind of give you like a recap of what happened in the last movie, or they don't mention a lot of the stuff from the first movie.
Mm-hmm.
So you could potentially watch them, yes, you could watch them back to back, but at the same time, you don't really have to. And I think that's really cool of them. And it's a clever way of doing it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think at the end of it, I think I give both movies a respect, because I don't, as much as I like Values a little bit more, I still go back to the first one every now and then. I go like, you know what, that was clever. I liked what they did there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't see me like giving like, the first one like a grade below. It's like, you know what, I would sit down and watch both of them like at one time. Like I won't be like, ugh, I gotta watch this one in order to get to the next one. That's not these two movies. I'll be like, you know what, no, I'd watch both of them. So.
I wouldn't even consider giving it You Are God,
The first one or both of them?
The first one. I would consider giving it. I know you wouldn't, but but I agree. I would give at least both respect.
Yeah.
That at the most,
Then just give your You Are God rating right now.
Okay.
You want
my
to.
You Are God rating for the Addams Family first movie.
There you go. I love how you're fighting that. And just like, oh, I know exactly what you're gonna say. And what's funny is that when we were, planning for to talk about these two, I was going like, well, I already know her ratings. And yep, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that.
There is nothing wrong with that, Trevor.
I'm not saying it is.
Okay.
I love how you keep harping at me.
Oh, I am gonna keep harping at you because I just need to know where I stand.
Where do you stand?
I need to.
Jeez. But yeah, so yeah, that's personally to me. So I would give them both respect, and you would give a You Are God and then respect.
Respect. Yeah.
No. Yeah. So yeah, but that's personally with me, and I every once in a while, I think of quotes from both of the movies that just I start chuckling at when I think of in my head, and it's kind of weird because I'll be thinking about it like around people, then all of a sudden like I'll just start like snickering about something, and then everyone just kind of looks at me like, you okay? And it's like, yeah, you won't get it. Is anybody okay?
No.
Exactly.
No.
Yeah, so oh well. Yeah. Whatever. Yeah, and then now they're doing I think they said they're still in pre-production for season 2 of Wednesday. But I think they said pre-production, but at the same time they're kind of waiting for Ortega's schedule to not be as insane as it is right now. Because yeah, they're gonna start filming the next stream, I think early next year. They're currently, she's signed on to do a A24 movie with Paul Rudd. Did you hear about that one?
I did. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, personally, I like the fact that it is almost like a dark comedy, and it's Paul Rudd and Jenna Ortega, but it's also produced by Ari Aster, and the music's going to be done by John Carpenter. And I'm like, take my money. I'm sold. Like, just take it. Like, you had me.
You had me at that.
Yep. So it's like, yeah, this is going to be one trip. So yeah, I think they said they're, and then now she's now that the actor strike, the writers and actor strike is over, she still needs to go back and finish Beetlejuice 2.
That's right.
Because I think they said that they were like 99% filmed before the strikes happened. So like they were right there.
We could have had it.
We could have. Well, I don't know if it would have made a difference, because yeah, they could have finished it, but then the actors strike was still going on, so they still would have had to put the delay on it.
Oh, you're right.
But yeah, so now that both strikes are over, they can quickly go back and finish that, and hopefully it won't be like a whoa, that was clearly like shot after the strike kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't think it will be, but then again, like I said, only like 99% of the film was filmed, so it's not like half the movie was filmed before and then the other half they're going to film after. So there's going to be like possibly a big jump where you're like, okay, how come you look older? You look older here, but then you looked younger in that previous scene. It's like, what happened here? So
yeah.
I personally think Beetlejuice is fine. It'll be fine. But yeah, with 2, I'm personally keeping my expectations low, because, you know, as much as I like the first one, I'm just going like, all right, just keep it low. We'll see.
I mean,
we'll see what
happens.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm hoping it's just going to be a good nostalgic thing, but you never know what might happen.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, it is both Keaton and Ryder are back, and Ortega plays Ryder's daughter.
Yes, that is correct.
So it's kind of like, all right, I can see that. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that. Yeah, just glad that the strikes are over.
Me too.
So,
yeah.
Yay.
Thanks for listening. Follow us on social. Listen to full shows on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Subscribe to the Cinematic Duo YouTube channel. Thanks again for listening.